Sure that we got the sound going and stuff. I think we do. I think we do. We're gonna get started. Have you ever thought that as a financial professional that the industry is out of control? I mean, have you ever wondered if there could be a better way of doing things when it comes to how we're trained and educated, how we are regulated, and how we market our services to those that need them? If you've ever thought about any of those questions, you're going to want to stay tuned because that's what we're going to talk about today is why financial services is out of control. Out of control. So, if you're joining me live, I would love to hear from where you're at, listening from or watching from. Maybe you're on YouTube or Facebook, or I think I'm on X too. I haven't checked, but if you're on X, maybe give me a shout out or a thumbs up or something like that. That way I can kind of see. Um, but I would love to know where you're listening from, and thank you for your time and attention today, tonight rather. I'm really appreciating the fact that we got people out there. Let's see. Let me see if I can do any shout outs before we get started real quick. I know you're here for the content and not the shout outs, but I like to show a little love. I like to show a little love. It looks like we got a couple people in the RA Launch Academy watching on YouTube. So good stuff. Let's get into this thing because I read an article I don't know how many of you guys and gals get this magazine here, Financial Planning. So I read an article in there and I was like, man, this is really good. This is before I went out of town here on my vacation here. But I was like, I got to do a live stream on this because this is where a lot of people, I think, don't get it when it comes to how financial services works. And I'm going to unpack that. I will, trust me. But I think it's something to dive in today, and that's what we're going to go into. So I got a little time here, so we will definitely hopefully open it up for the chat. What's up, Matthew Queen on YouTube? Thank you for watching, my friend. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen this is what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to remember to share my screen on the article references that I'm making and then kick it back to just my face. I'm going to try to navigate that. So you guys just give me some grace tonight, please. Because I got a lot of technology here going on and I want to make sure I do it right. Okay? So yeah. So if you are a financial professional, even if you're an aspiring financial professional, and let me even back up a little bit more. If you are a consumer of financial services, you might find this particularly interesting because I'm going to dive, kind of deep into this today. So let's see if this works for me. So you guys should be seeing a different screen now. Give me a second here. Yes, good. I think it works. Hallelujah. All right, so let's put this over there like that. And we're going to do one more thing just so I can know what's going on here. All right, perfect. Now, what I will concede is that if you're on Instagram, it probably doesn't look that good because I'm doing a screen share right now. So I apologize. I think you should do is you might want to move over to one of the other platforms where you can get the full screen of that. Okay, so here we go. I was reading this article. It's called Fighting the Tides of Wirehouse Attrition. And just if you haven't read it, it's basically talking about how the wirehouses are kind of fighting to keep talent inside the financial services industry and what they're doing to compete. It basically gave you, some insight into what's going on there. And, there's some expert opinions about where the industry's going and all this other kind of stuff. And we're not going to really dive too deep into that. But I think two questions that I think, along with the other two that we talked about, or the other three that we talked about at the top of this, when you're thinking about why financial advisors, let's call it in their first 3 years, almost consistently make under $100,000, and in the first year definitely make somewhere between 50 and 80 metro statistical area adjusted. why this happens. This article sheds light into that. And the fact that there are so many financial advisors, and I've been guilty of saying a number way less than what I'm going to update and start talking about going forward, because this article sheds light on that too. So we're going to get into all of that, okay? So stay tuned. You are going to be in for a treat. All right. So the very first thing that I think is super interesting here that needs to be made aware of is if you, I'm going to scroll down to this area here and make sure I can find it here. Give me a second. I'm going to make sure, oops, I need way more, I need like 3 screens right now. Okay, so there's this area here inside that talks about under the Flight to Independence, this separate, this is, hopefully you're seeing this on your screen now, but this separate report released by Cerulli and Associates in October found that 58% of all retail client assets in wealth management were housed at the top 10 largest broker-dealer firms. So just for you guys keeping track here, 60% just about, right? So of the 26.9 trillion the industry has under management at the retail level, 16 trillion is at those firms. So I think the takeaway I want to kind of explore here is this, my friend. Since 60%, I can talk, I promise, of all the investable assets are sitting at 10 firms, let's call it there's 10 trillion in play. 26 minus that 16. So 40% of the 26.9, right? That gets us to 10 trillion in play. And the question becomes, how would you like to play the game if you're a new financial professional or existing financial professional for that? Do you want to be associated with one of those big 10 that control the 60 and it's just like a bloodbath in there? Or would you like to go after the 40% on your own? You know, there's pros and cons to each approach. I'm not knocking you. I'm here to help us unpack that, because that's essentially what's happening. You got, and I'm about to get to the number in a little bit, you got all these people fighting after that 60%, which seems like a pretty big part of the pie. I mean, it is a big part of the pie. But at the end of the day, like, do you really want to be in there with all those guys and gals going after that? I don't know if you do. I mean, it's gonna be hell to pay, because it's just so crowded in that space. And so there's some things I want you to think about when it comes to that. And I think I can pop off real quick and come back to, let's do this. Thank you, Ken. I'm looking sharp tonight. Hold on a second, man. I'm trying to get back to my stuff. All right, so when you're thinking about going after the 40%, do you want control over what you're doing and how you're managing your clients and what services you're offering them? Or do you want to be in constraint? Because, man, compliance at one of those bigger firms is a booger bear. It is hard. And they, like we've talked about before, they always have to manage to the lowest common denominator. So all you need, you know, you could be doing great at one of those firms, at one of those big 10 firms. And then all you need is a Joe Knucklehead that's trying to sell, you know, index annuities to a 95-year-old grandma. And then you got this compliance thing coming down, and you got to do all this paperwork, and it just makes it real cumbersome. So control or constraint? Which one do you want? Because we're unpacking both approaches. I'm not knocking, again, either approach. I'm just telling you, let's think about some things here. Going after that, you know, being in the, let's call it, in the mix of the 60%, right, of the 16 trillion. And further in that article, I didn't read this part, but it says, this is somebody from, who said this? Anyways, they said, I always tell people that the 4 wirehouse firms, Morgan, Merrill, UBS, and Wells Fargo, those 4 firms control more assets than 16,000 RIAs combined. So all I'm saying is you got a lot of competition. And so you got to think about whether you want control or you want to be constrained. The other thing you need to think about is freedom versus fear. What do I mean by freedom versus fear? Well, do I want to be controlled by the fear of I might not make it on my own, or do I want the freedom of I can make it on my own? I mean, those are two different mindsets. I get it. And look, we've all been there. It's hard out there the first couple years. Totally get it. I do. But which mindset's going to control you? Fear of I need to be associated with a big firm because I don't know necessarily whether or not I'm going to be able to do it. I need to have their compliance. I need to have their marketing. I need to have their systems. I need to have their platform, blah, 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 blah. Or I can find solutions on my own. People have done it on their own before. I can go the independent route, right? The freedom of that. And then last but not least, consider duplication versus differentiation. What do I mean by that? Well, dude, man, you are looking like probably the next gallon of milk, right? Look, no shade. I know you probably think that you're differentiating yourself, but if you're at one of those firms, you know, the industry paints a really good picture and spends millions of dollars a year to make us look like all the same, you know, white egg or homogenized gallon of milk or whatever analogy that you want to look or use that makes you look like a carbon copy of something, versus being able to differentiate yourself with who you specialize in, who you help, what problems you solve, you know, this whole knowledge of the problem versus knowledge of the solution we've talked about before, you know, how you can become an expert on the knowledge of the problem versus everybody else that just has knowledge of the solution. Are y'all hearing me out there? Like, I'm not getting a whole lot of feedback on this. No, you know, it's all good though. I know I'm speaking the truth, so it's all good. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're with me. So when we're thinking about this, let's call it decision on whether or not it makes sense to go independent or hook up with a wirehouse or a broker dealer, or like I like to call it, the broken dealer. What are the things that you go through? What is the, let's call it the mental kind of calculus that you are going through in order to make that decision? I think you should think about the control versus constraint, the freedom versus fear, and the duplication versus differentiation. You have to. You absolutely have to. You owe it to the people that you will serve and that you are called to be in the best environment that you can serve them in. It's going to pay off in the end. It will. Trust me. I've been doing this long enough. Okay. Now, let's see if we can navigate back to where I was before. Give me a second here. Nope, not that. Give me a second. I'm going to find it. Trust me, I will. All right, let's do that. There we go. Okay. So the next thing, this is going to blow your mind because it blew my mind. Now, there's a part in this article. Okay, yeah, this part. The Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. So who doesn't know that that's FINRA, right? So the people that give out the licenses that make you registered reps, like the Series 7, Series 6, Series 63, Series 65, Series 66, all that. The broker-dealers industry self-regulator did note a slight uptick in May in the number of registered representatives in 2022 when the total hit, hear me now, 620,822 individuals out there calling themselves financial professionals. But that modest 1% year-over-year increase came after years of decline. The 2022 figure was still below the 629,475 individuals who were in the industry in 2018. Okay, let's just do some math here. Let's call it 600,000 people, okay? Does it make sense to you? I just want to know what you think here. Like, this is my logic. Does it make sense to you that this number is probably closer to 700,000 individuals calling themselves financial professionals? Dominique, how do you get to 700,000 from 600,000? Well, easy. I'm not a registered rep. I don't have, like, now I may be on the broker check, but I don't have I'm not a registered rep, like they said in that number just then. I am an independent. I have my CFP and I own my own firm. And there are a lot of other people out there that are like that not just necessarily CFPs, but they may be CHFCs or they may be CFAs. But the point is they're not registered reps associated with a broker dealer. And so let's just add 100,000 people. I think it's probably more than that, but let's add 100,000 more men and women. We're talking about 700,000 men and women out there calling themselves financial professionals and, talking to the public, the investing public, about their services. My question is, do you honestly think you can differentiate yourself at the broker dealer with just knowledge? With just, I passed a Series 7 and Series 66? Like, really, think about this. Would you rather have a person, so think about the person that is trying to figure out, you come to them and you say, hey, come work with me. I mean, you don't say it like this, but you go, hey, I can offer you wealth management or investment planning or whatever you want to call it that you give as a financial professional, whatever services you offer, that package. You want them to decide to work with you based on the fact you have more knowledge than the person down the street at Edward Jones or Raymond James or Morgan Stanley or Merrill Lynch or anybody, and you're trying to differentiate yourself between all those individuals, all 700,000 of them. What I would offer to you, my friend, is that person is probably thinking something like this. Would I rather have a personal trainer that knows how to get a six-pack and actually has a six-pack? Or would I just want one that knows how to get a six-pack? They probably want the person that has the six-pack, knows how to get the six-pack. Now, how am I using this analogy? Well, in these training programs, with the 700,000 of all these people, there were 600,000, 629,000, 622,000 that they said. You're getting the same training no matter where you go. Now, I know they're going to tell you something different, but trust me, they're giving you the same training. They're giving you, Series 7, Series 66, or Series 6 and Series 63, and then you get licensed for life and health. Okay, so what? You all got the same knowledge. What is differentiating you from the next person? Somebody answer me that, please. Answer me that in the chat. Just throw it in the chat. What is differentiating you? You all got the same knowledge. How do you differentiate yourself? That's a problem. I get it. Look, Dom, I need a way to get into the industry. I'm a career changer and I need to get sponsored. I get it. Look, I'm not knocking it. I didn't say don't go that route. I said we need to evaluate which route you should go. Because if you're getting the same knowledge, training, education as all the other 622,000 people calling them financial professionals, what is differentiating you between that person, the next person, and yourself when it comes to offering your services? Are you being differentiated by the name brand? Okay, whatever. I hope that works for you, because all of these firms have like tens of thousands of people. Most of which, if you're starting, have been there longer than you. So that kind of goes out the door. So what I'm getting you to think about is whether or not this package that they sell you when you're trying to get into the industry is actually worth as much as they said it is. It doesn't seem like it is, because this is a relationship business and you are going to be successful in a couple of areas. We'll get to this in a second. But I'm gonna tell you right now, the littlest part of your success is gonna be this knowledge, or let me rephrase it, this education and training package that they give you. Oh my gosh, this is not differentiating you. This is not setting you apart at all. It's negligible, my friend. Okay? So when you are evaluating opportunities and they're like, we have the best training package in the world in the industry, and we're set apart and we've been doing this for years and da 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 da. Just know it's not really worth anything. Don't make your decision based on that solely. Okay? Everybody good with me? So this leads me to kind of my third point around this. And let me just scroll back to the article for those that are following along. You guys good? Everybody good? Okay. I hope this is helping you. Like, that's really the only reason when I do this is to help you. So, all right, let's look at this article one more time, because there was another part of this that I was like, what? So, listen to this. Danny Sarch, Leitner Sarch Consultants. Sarch estimated that it has been roughly, get this, 20 years since firms were putting substantial resources into training new recruits. Oh my gosh, that's like a mic drop. What? You're trying to tell me that these firms that are recruiting me, telling me that they got the best training on the street, hasn't invested in their training programs in the last 2 decades? What? I literally was just laughing when I read this. I know it to be true, but like, you know, it is what it is. This is the reason why I call it the broken dealer. Like, come on, it's crazy. So it's almost like they tried to blame the fact that they're not getting enough new talent in to reinvest in the program by this next sentence, but the lack of newcomers isn't entirely their fault. Simple economics plays a part as well, he said. At most firms, advisors who want to earn $100,000 a year would need to be making about $300,000 for the company. So that gives you the average payout at 33%, which, I mean, as payouts go, that sucks. With advisory fees often hovering around 1% of assets under management, that means they would need to be overseeing roughly $30 million for clients. Wow, wow, and wow. I mean, the odds are stacked against you, ladies and gentlemen, if you work for one of the top 10 firms that manage 60% of the industry's assets. It's no wonder there is a 78%, I believe it's higher than this, failure rate for first-year advisors. I did a podcast on that a long time ago. But I mean, 8 out of 10 people wash out of this industry in the first year. And I'm showing you why. That's what we're talking about. So why would you choose the independent route or financial coach and not the BD model? I don't know. I think a lot more people should be doing that. I think a lot more people should not be doing, bad financial advising. But if you don't know how to manage assets, or you don't know how to market yourself to manage assets, why don't you just become a financial coach or financial counselor and help people with all the other things besides the money? Because it's really, really hard to collect the assets and justify your 1% fee amongst all the stuff we've talked about in the last 30 minutes. It really just super hard. Especially if you're in your first year and you're career changing or something like that. So this is kind of the reason why I think the BD model is the worst model. It's not going away now, but it will go away. It's a dinosaur. It's dying. A very slow death at that, but it is dying. So I also wanted to let you know that this is the reason why most first-year advisors are going to make something less than 50 grand. And you're probably going to be below that 6-figure mark for 2 or 3 years if you're at, one of these type of firms. I would say the bell curve is probably a little to the left of the 100,000, meaning sub 6 figures. And it is what it is. And so, a lot of career changers come to me and they go, how can I make 6 figures and da 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 da? And I'm like, this is not the way. There is a way, but this is not the way. Right? So I want to kind of transition to unpack a little bit of what I talked about when it comes to the knowledge. And then if you hang around, I'm going to give you an opportunity to rectify all this, right? Like Saturday, I and some individuals are meeting, and this is free, to talk about how you would create your ideal firm, how you would create a vision that will help you move forward, how you would create this spot, carve out this spot in the financial services industry for you that is going to serve you, not the broken dealer, but you and the people that you're called to that you want to serve. And so hang out with me just for a second longer, a couple minutes longer, and we'll get to how you can join that because I would love to have you there. So, okay, here's the deal. When you're in this, environment that we're talking about right now, that is suboptimal. It's not ideal for anyone that wants to grow in this industry. I get you got to do what you got to do, but most of the people I talked to a young man last month that's going to start coaching with me, and he's stuck in this, and he's been in this loop, and he thought that they were going to elevate him, and they never did, and they just kept on taking his clients and just really getting as much juice from the squeeze as they can from him. All the while they're just giving him the runaround, and he's not excelling in his career. It happens all the time. I talk to people all the time about this. Well, let me tell you what the problem is, not necessarily with him, but how they keep you trapped in this. And you should write this down because I'm going to go through these fairly quickly, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on them because my wife went to just go get us dinner, and when she comes back, I'm going to go eat. It's been a long day. Okay? But here's the first thing. When you're in this environment, listen to me closely. Thumbs up if you know where I'm at. You should be hearing me, okay? When you're in this environment, the broken dealer, the financial services industry, this is how it's out of control. They profit off of keeping you at a certain level of knowledge. That education and training that you think is so valuable, they want to keep you right there. Notice when a lot of these firms, when you start to go, I want to be a CFP or I want to do something else, they go, we don't really like that, or you might get a little pushback there because you're starting to expand your knowledge beyond what they want to keep you at. Because if they can just keep you at a registered rep level of knowledge, training, entry level, blah, 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 and you just go collect assets, but you never learn how to do comprehensive financial planning. You never learn how to do tax analysis. You never learn how to do risk management assessments. You never learn how to do any of those things and become an expert at any of those in those lanes or those verticals. Then they can keep you at a certain level at a 30% grid payout, and they just collect more people and wait for that person to fall off and bring another person in and yada, yada, yada. They've been doing it for years. It's a really good profit model for them. So don't think you can fight the 900-pound gorilla that particular way, right? We all know in this industry, in contrast to that you're not really paid well until you become an expert at something. That's just what it is. Like knowledge of, introductory training, you don't get repaid that much. You get paid when you're an expert. So I want to talk to you over the next few minutes about knowledge, particularly the pursuit of mastery, because knowledge is just a piece of the puzzle in the pursuit of mastery. Well, what is mastery? Mastery of what, Dominique? Mastery of a particular skill. And when I say mastery, I have this unconscious competence, and I'm able to do this thing in my sleep. I don't have to think about what the next step is. Like, I'm able to do it. If I'm having a prospective client meeting, I'm talking about myself right now, I know how to walk this person from minute 1 through minute 90 of my presentation to get them to say yes at the end without a script. That's what I'm talking about. That's mastery. And you have to get to mastery to become an expert in something. And that's how you get paid. So that's the cliff notes over the next 5 minutes of what we're going to talk about, if you had to leave early. So in displaying this skill, I prove my level of mastery. What skill, Dominique? Well, let's say you want to do tax analysis or risk assessments or comprehensive financial planning or evaluating somebody's retirement plan. Like pick it. I don't care. Whatever you want to do. Whatever you think you can go really deep in and be really good at. This is the reason why coaching and mentorship is so important. Both of them, not either or, but both. You need a mentor that's already doing the thing that you want to become a master at, so you can have a picture or an example, kind of like, apprentice type of deal, that you should be looking at. And then, because they're not going to have the time to do what they do well and continue to get paid for it and coach you for free. So then what you need to do is go hire you a coach or invest in the training, take the classes, whatever, to deepen your level in that particular skill that you see your master doing. That's how that works. And it takes time and it takes money. But that's what mastery is about, is spending time and money doing those things. Okay? So, if you don't have a skill that you have mastered yet, well, let me put it this way. Mastery is an evolution to get there. And all you're doing is uncovering as you evolve from, and I'm going to give you these steps, from ignorance to knowledge to understanding to wisdom, which is mastery. As you evolve through those 4 steps, all you're doing is unpacking more truth about the particular skill that you want to know. Okay? Let's use a really plain example before we get into a concrete example for our industry. When you're learning how to ride a bike, at first you are ignorant about the laws of physics and gravity and all the other things. So what happens is whoever's teaching you how to do it, or if you're doing it yourself, you're probably falling off of it a lot and scraping your knees, because that's how that works. But then as you start to have knowledge about, well, if I lean my weight to the left, then I'm going to fall to the left. Or if I lean my weight to the right, then I'm going to fall to the right. I need to find this balance here with the steering wheel and this pedaling motion so that I can go forward. That's knowledge, right? And then you might start to understand that if you're going to make a hard left turn or hard right turn, that you may need to do some leaning, right? That would be understanding. And then you start to get to the point that you go more and more and more. Well, all you're doing is unveiling and unpacking more truth about how to ride a bike and really understanding the laws of physics. That's what you're doing. At the age of 5 or 6 or whenever you learn how to ride a bike, you didn't really know that, but that's what you were doing. Okay? So now I'm going to walk you through how you correct the problem of stopping at just knowledge when you enter the financial services industry. Because the training and the education, yeah, you need it to get licensed, but that's not the end all be all. Okay? So are you guys still with me? Let me see if there's anybody. I don't know if did I get anybody on? I think I went live. I did go live on IG. I just want to make sure that I am not missing comments. I might have a little time to do Q&A, maybe. All right. I don't know. My IG's like tripping right now, so I don't know what's going on there. Okay, so let's walk through this. The first level of mastery is going to be ignorance. It's going to be the absence of truth. It's you falling off the bike, skinning your knees, and you haven't rode a lick yet. You haven't even made it a block. You haven't even made it down the sidewalk, and all you got is blood on your knees because you're ignorant to the laws of physics. So this is anybody coming into financial services. You may not know the regulations around giving advice. So you need to study for something like the 63, 66, 60, 65. You don't know the real difference between equity and fixed income, and that, all the assets classes that fall under equity versus all the asset classes that fall under fixed income. You get what I'm saying? This is the absence of truth there. You don't know. So you first got to pass that, and then you start to get some knowledge. That's the second level. What is knowledge? Well, now we're applying the truth of stuff. Now we know that, for instance, with bonds, with fixed income, price and yield are inverse. So as bond prices go up, yields come down. And as bond prices go down, yields come up, right? That's knowledge. Now I can apply this truth when I am going out to talk to a particular client about something, right? Because, generally speaking, people don't know that. And this is the reason why I know that, because just about every Bloomberg article that talks about yields or bond prices always puts that in parentheses to let people know, because it's just not common knowledge. But that's a good example of how you've accumulated some knowledge and you have applied some truth to that particular domain. If you wanted to go really deep in fixed income, you can start learning about duration and, all this, modified duration and coupons and credit and just all kinds of stuff, right? And the fact that there's taxable bonds and tax-free bonds, there's corporate and there's high yield, there's, foreign. You get my point. I used to run a muni bond desk, so I nerded out for just a second, but I apologize. Here's my point. Knowledge is just that application of truth. We're just peeling back more layers of truth. Okay. Now, this is where it stops for most financial professionals, unfortunately. Either that or they just start to get knowledge in a lot of broad areas. They go really broad instead of deep on some other stuff. Now, you're going to be different because I'm going to tell you the secret to going deep and how you really get paid in this industry is not going broad, it's going deep. Okay? Not wide, but deep. All right, so that leads us to the third level of mastery, which is understanding or the assimilation of truth. So the best way to understand this is when you have knowledge, the previous level, you understand or you know the what about something. You know that in this particular case, let's use a comprehensive financial planning because a lot of CFPs or CFP hopefuls are probably going to be listening to this. You know that when people are confused in their finances, they probably need a comprehensive financial plan. That's the what they need. Understanding would take you to how that plan is supposed to work. Maybe the 7 steps to financial planning. You start to understand the inputs, the type of data you should be collecting, yada, 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 right? You have moved past just knowing the what that they need a financial plan to understanding a little bit of how that works. But there's another level, my friend. Next level is wisdom. That's the fourth one. Wisdom is not just knowing the what or the how, but also the why. Now you know the why. Now you understand why step 1 goes first before, step, 5, 6, 7. Now you understand that. That's the application of truth. You can now start applying what you have uncovered to synthesize different solutions. And what you can do is you can build upon that knowledge to take you down further things, right? So, I had a call with a prospective client earlier this week, and one of the things that they, relayed to me during this conversation is like, man, I wasn't even thinking about it like that. Well, because I'm using truth application. I'm using wisdom, hundreds of case studies and years of experience. And now I'm drawing all that in to give them advice on their particular situation. And so I am unfolding or unpacking, different pathways that we could be going down as it applies to them and giving them even more options to solve their problem. And that is where you need to get to. And don't be trapped by where the industry tries to keep you, because you will always just be really additive. You will always be 1 + 1. It will never be exponential like 0 to 1. right? You will just be, another brick on the pile. Don't be another brick on the pile. You can do so much better. I believe in you. So I hope this helps. I really hope this helps you understand kind of like this evolution of what it's going to take for you to be a next level superstar financial professional, to really embrace your superpower of whatever that is. Some of you guys are relationship people, and you can, never meet a stranger, and you'll have somebody else do the analysis part. But you can definitely, even with that, let's call it the less technical stuff. You can even still learn more about communication, negotiation tactics, psychology, and how people think, and what it takes for people to buy things, which is emotional versus logical. All those things, you can go deep on that kind of stuff and become a master there. So there's always room for mastery. Okay, I want to offer you that. So I will hang out for just a second more while I am queuing up how you can join me this Saturday. If anybody has questions right now, give me just a second. Let me transition here. I think this is the link. Yes, this is the link right here. So I'll scroll this here. So if you enjoyed this, if this was something that you're like, wow, okay, yeah, that does make sense, I would like to hear more, or more of this kind of stuff, then Saturday in 2 days, we are having a vision, what I will call a vision session, a vision workshop, where we're going to be talking about how to create your ideal firm, really to create your ideal pathway through financial services. And so you can register while space is available with that link, start.jumpstartcoachinglab.com/vision. Start.jumpstartcoachinglab.com/vision. Okay. So, go read the article. You probably will uncover some things that I didn't uncover. And I would love to hear your thoughts on them. I just thought it was super interesting that this expose, if you want to call it that, just revealed why people are not being successful in financial services largely. And let me qualify that. Why financial professionals, not the people that I guess this can relate to the consumers of financial. That's a whole nother hour or whatnot. I can't really get to that. But the point is, there's a reason, and it starts on page 22 in that magazine, why there's an almost 80% failure rate for first-year advisors. It's sad. And actually, this is part of the reason that we started doing what we started doing in Jumpstart, because this is all about making sure individuals get the right type of knowledge and training when they're going into this industry. This is entirely the mission here, to build better financial professionals. That's the mission. Okay. And if you want to join me on that mission, and you can't come Saturday, no problem. Start.jumpstartcoachinglab.com, and don't do the /vision, and then you can sign up for the email list. Okay, because we share a lot more. Like, it seems like I got into it really hard on the broker-dealer side, and I kind of did on purpose, but I go even